but I can't say that it applies to me. We're going to be sort of jumping around the machzor because the mincha davening has no English. So I'm going to ask you to please come to page 206. This is Yom Kippur. This is the period, the day on which God seals our fate in the book of life. Again, it's a midrash. It's a legend. We don't take it necessarily to heart. The significant thing is that in Judaism, there's always going to be something comes along and contradicts what we thought we knew. I was raised in yeshiva. They told me that Yom Kippur seals the book of life. Then when I became a rabbi, I became acquainted with a teeny tiny little holiday called Hoshana Rabbah, which I was taught also seals the book of life. So I guess the book of life needs a lot of sealing. Anyway, we're on page 206 with the Ashrei. Let's read together the top 6 lines, please. Blessed are the people who understand the shofar sounds. They walk in your light, O Lord. In your name they rejoice all their days. Through their faith, your faithfulness, they are exalted. Blessed are they who dwell in your house. They shall praise you forever. Blessed the people who are so favored. Blessed the people whose God is the Lord. Amen. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha hod yalucha sela. Ashreim shekachalo. Ashreim sharanoi Elohav. Tila leDavid. Let's read responsively towards the bottom of page 207. This is 6 lines from the bottom of 207. Your kingdom is an everlasting kingdom. Together, your dominion endures for all generations. The Lord supports all who stumble. He raises all who are bowed down. All eyes look hopefully to you to receive their food in due time. You open your hand and all the living feast upon your favor. As I've said before, the Ashrei is a very important prayer. We do it 3 times a day. We do it twice in the morning service, once in the afternoon service, not at all in the evening service, but it's what I call a wishful thinking prayer, meaning if we say the thing, if we say the blessing, we hope it will occur, receiving our food in due favor, not only for ourselves, but for people all over the world. In Afghanistan, for example, they're having a tough time. The last 2 lines of the top paragraph on 208. Hallelujah. The half Kaddish, which is on page 214, please rise. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, amen. Yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayei chonav mechonav v'chay l'chol beit Yisrael b'agalov v'zman kariv v'yimru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach Le'olam le'ol me'ol maya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei l'kudesha b'richu Le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nachmata damiran b'alma v'yimru, amen. All right, the Amidah that I want you to turn to, please, is 768. 768. Once again, because it has the Hebrew. I'm sorry, the English. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi agiti hilatecha baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Oel, Agadol Hagibor veHanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim Vekone Hakol, Zocher Chaste Avot, Umevi Goel of Nevnehem, Leman Shemo Biava. Please continue silently in the Amidah, and the conclusion is 774. After which you may be seated. If you haven't yet finished the Amidah, please continue. I wanted to do a quick drash. It's not my drash, it's Bernard Baruch. I'm sure most of us don't recall him, but in his day, he was a very powerful financier, and he was involved in politics as well. I don't believe he was a Zionist. It's fascinating how the Jews got by in those days. The expression is Al tashlichenu le'et zikna, do not cast us out in our old age. And that means that for as long as we are alive, there is the possibility for us to redo some decision we took or words that we had with a friend or relative. Life is very precious. On his 84th birthday, Bernard Baruch gave an interview in which he commented on some of his various mistakes. One of them was that when President Woodrow Wilson offered him the secretaryship of the Treasury, he refused. Another regret was that because he traveled on business, he was always off to Europe or the other coast or whatever it is, he didn't visit his mother enough. And he told an anecdote about Franklin Roosevelt. Roosevelt was very close with his mother to the extent that Sarah Delano was her name, and to the extent that very often they were said to have one mind. And, you know, that gets to a point in a man's life where he doesn't necessarily need his mother dominating his thoughts. But Mr. Baruch recalled that while he was visiting President Roosevelt in Washington during World War II, and they were in, I don't know if it was the Oval Office yet, but they were in the presidential office, and the president received a phone call. He said, Mr. Roosevelt listened on the phone, put it down, and said, "My mother is very sick." The president said he would not be allowed, because of his busy wartime schedule, to visit his mother for at least a week or 10 days. And Mr. Baruch recalled that he said at that time, "Mr. President, I'm older than you. I will never cease to regret the time I could have been with my mother and I wasn't." And so based on Baruch's advice, the president stopped what he was doing. He went back to visit his mother, and he was there when she passed away. It is really difficult these days. America is still a youth-oriented society, and we should never forget that the older among us have advice to give, experiences to share, and really ways in which to enrich our lives. Thank you. The full Kaddish is on 340, page 340. Yitgadal v'kadash shemei rabba amen. Yalma divra chirutei v'yamlich machutei. B'chai chonu v'mei chonu v'chai d'chol bet Yisrael. Agalav izman kariv yimru amen. Yehesh mei rabba mevarach. Li'olam li'ol me'ol maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpoar v'yitrumam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudashah. Brichu li'elah u'li'elah mikol birchata v'shirata. Tishbchata v'nechmata damiran b'yama v'yimru amen. Titkabal tzloton avuoton d'chayisro akadam avuon. Divishmaya v'yimru amen. Yehesh lamarabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al koyisra v'yimru amen. Ohose shalom bimromav. Uyase shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Yase shalom, shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. Imru amen. A word about the full Kaddish. The Kaddish in general is there to show different breaks in the davening. That's why you have the half Kaddish, for example, before the Amidah. And the job of the full Kaddish is to mark the near conclusion of any service. That is why it has the extra line, Titkabal Sloton Uvuton. May the prayers and supplications of the entire house of Israel be acceptable to their Father in heaven. It is not a mourner's Kaddish. The mourner's Kaddish does not include the line I just quoted, may the prayers and supplications of the entire house of Israel, because the fact that we're saying mourner's Kaddish means that the house of Israel is not complete. It is not necessary to stand for the full Kaddish. So I just wanted to pass that along. Page 341 is the Aleinu. Please rise. The ark is open. Aleinu l'shabeach ladun hakol latet gedula liotzer breshit shelo asanu kigoye haratzot v'la samanu kimishbechot hadama shelo sam chelkenu kahem v'gor aleinu Kechol hamonam v'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu shehu notes shamayim v'yosei haaretz umoshav yikaro b'shamayim imal Ushchinatu zo, begave meromim, u Eloheinu henod, emet malkeinu efesulato, kakatuv bitorato, V'yadato hayom, hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim imal, v'al haaretz, Tachat enod v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad Ushemo echad, Ushemo echad. The mourners Kaddish, everyone but the mourners may be seated. This is 342. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabba, amen. V'yalama divra chirute v'yamlich machute. V'chayechon v'yimechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. Ba'galav v'zman koriv v'yimru, amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivorach v'yolamu ne'el maya. Yitporach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalei v'yitalal shemei tekudesha b'richu li'ela mikol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata ta'amiran b'alma v'yimru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael Yal koyosh ve'tevel v'yimru, amen. Please be seated. Sorry?
They do the nigun.
Okay.
So in order to enter into the midst and the tone of the high holidays, we are going to have the Nigun of the high holidays.
Yash Koach. The Kol Nidre may be found on page 352. Yes. Before that, I ask everyone wearing a talit to please rise at this time. This is the only evening service where we wear the talit. Somebody approached me before Rosh Hashanah and asked if they should wear one, and it's not true. Again, if you're wearing a talit, please rise. We're just going to do the blessing, which is in the middle of 350. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu litatef b'tzitzit. Amen. Reading in the English, right in the middle of 351. Praised are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who sanctifies our life with his commandments, commanding us to wear the talit. Amen. Please be seated. And on page 351, we have the Tefila Zakah. The Tefila Zakah is a prayer that we recite to forgive anyone and everyone who may have wronged us. It is very important that we do this prayer. Technically, the period of the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, the 10 days of penitence, were the time when we were supposed to seek out anyone who wronged us and ask their forgiveness. If they refuse, we ask them a total of 3 times. After that, they are supposedly committing the sin of pride. I have a disagreement, though, because clearly in that instance, if you have a financial disagreement with someone, if it's a business sort of situation, then just asking them for forgiveness 3 times is not going to accomplish what you're setting out to do. But just in terms of recognizing that davening on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur will, we hope, have God forgive us for the sins we've committed against him, but they will not forgive us for the sins we commit against each other. So at this time, please read together with me in the English, I hereby forgive. I hereby forgive all who have hurt me, all who have done me wrong, whether deliberately or by accident, whether by word or deed. May no one be punished on my account. As I forgive and pardon fully those who have done me wrong, may those whom I have harmed forgive and pardon me, whether I acted deliberately or by accident, whether by word or by deed. Wipe away my sins, O Lord, with your great mercy. May I not repeat the wrongs I have committed. May the words of my mouth and the prayers in my heart be acceptable before you, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. Now we turn the page, and there's the Kol Nidre. Kol Nidre means all promises and vows. It's probably Talmudic in origin, but we'll never really know. And here it is where we ask God to forgive us for vows we may have made foolishly. For example, if a person is hopelessly addicted to smoking and he says, I swear to God, I will never smoke again. Well, that was a foolish vow, and that's the one that relieves him. And in this instance also, it's important to remember that the Kol Nidre took on a greater importance around the time of the 15th century, 16th century, when the Jews in Spain and Portugal were being forced to convert to Catholicism. Most of them took on the vows. They were Jews in secret, but they pretended to be Catholics on the outside. And that is why that last line, the third line of the top paragraph, Anu matirin litpalel im havaryanim, means we pronounce it permissible to pray with sinners. The word avaryanim might also be related to the word Iberian, meaning that someone who lives in the Iberian Peninsula. But again, we'll never really know. The cantor will, no? Yeshiva Shalmala? Okay, I can do it. Yes.
Beshiva shel mala ubeshiva shel mata al dat hamakom be'al dat hakahal anu matirim להתפלל higima varyanim Beshiva shel mala beshiva shel mata haladat hamakom be'adat hakal anu matirim להתפלל עם עבריינים בשיבה של מעלה ובשיבה של מטה על דעת המקום בדעת הקהל אנו מתאימים להתפלל עם
The Kol Nidre, I just wanted to share with you on a personal note. This is my 45th year as a rabbi, and I'm very honored to be able to recite the Kol Nidre for you. Yes. Okay. We have people to hold the phone. I think it's super spreader. Which one? Oh, second from the right. Second from the right. You sure? If you go over there, you have more of a ledge. Yes. You okay? You'll sit there. Okay. Ol Nidre Fiesare Vacharame Vikonome Vichinuye Vikinuse Shevut Dinedarna Udish Tebana Udracharimna Videhi Asana Al Nafshatana Al Nafshatana Miyom Kippurim Zeh Ad Yom Kippurim Haba Aleinu L'tova Kulhon Acharamna Behon Kulhon Yehon Sharon Shevikin Shevitin Betelin Votalin Ay La Sheririn Bela Kayamin Indrana La Nidre Viesara Lo Asare Ushvuatana La Shevut. Good Yontif.
לכל הדוד בני ישראל ולגר הגר בתוכם כי לכל העם בשגגה סלח נא לעוונם הזה כן גודל חסדך וכאשר נסעת לעם הזה ממצרים בגדרה ושם נאמר ויאמר אדוני צלחתי כדבריך ויאמר צלחתי כדבריך ויאמר אדוני צלחתי כדבריך. And we are going to sing together the Sheheyanu. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Sheheyanu v'kimanu v'ingyanu lazman
The Sheheyanu prayer at the bottom. You're putting the Torahs away first? Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry, I was distracted. I have to clean my microphone. Okay, can I help you with that? No. Okay, all right, yes, you're, we're putting her back.
David first.
Okay, yes. May I say you did very well. Really. I could give you the blarney about the Torah lifting you up, but I don't believe that either. Please be seated. I do want to thank the cantor and Marcelo for arranging. And also our own Dina Shapiro and Peter Braunfield for a wonderful combination of musical instruments. A young rabbi takes a pulpit and he meets with the president of the congregation. And the president says, "Oh, Rabbi, it's so nice to meet you. You have a wonderful reputation. I was wondering if you could give me a sneak preview of one of your sermons." And the rabbi goes, "Yes," he said, "I was going to tell the congregation how important and vital it is to their spirituality to observe Shabbat very strictly." And the president says, "I don't know if that's going to work, Rabbi. Most of our people have stores. They have to stay open on Saturdays. What else you got?" "Oh," says the rabbi, "I was going to talk about why it's important for people to keep kosher." And the president shakes his head once again and says, "Again, Rabbi, I don't know if that's a good idea. We only have one kosher restaurant in town, and it's really pretty awful. Very few of the congregants keep kosher." And the rabbi is kind of at his wit's end, and he says, Mr. President, what would you suggest I talk about? And the president says, oh, talk about Judaism. So anyway, I'm really very pleased to be able to stand before you on Yom Kippur. It's the most unusual Yom Kippur I think any one of us can possibly remember, down to my little Purell wipes on my microphone, which is very important. I mean, gee whiz, we're living in a situation where a very deadly virus can be kept away from something you put over your face consisting of paper and cloth. And I say, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Because Jews, we survive. Anyway, I wanted to share with you that it's Yom Kippur, as you certainly know. It's the time when we stand before God. We hope for him to give us a clean slate, a brand new year presented to us like a shining path into the future. We are or should be full of resolutions to do better, to be better Jews, to pray more, to do more mitzvot. 5781 has been consigned to the dustbin of history, and we all hope and pray that 5782 will be much, much better. Can I get an amen on that? Amen. Oh, very nice. Good. Okay. Now, are Jews supposed to make New Year's resolutions? You know that when the secular New Year comes rolling around, you can always tell because the ball is dropped and so on. People make resolutions they really don't expect to keep because it's done sort of a half-hearted, tongue-in-cheek way. But it is a good idea to make New Year's resolutions. 200 years ago, one of my favorite Hasidic Rebbes, Rebbe Nachman of Wroclaw, his dates are 1772 to 1810. I'm sorry to share with you that he died at the age of 38, but his Hasidim are still going, okay? Until the Lubavitch failed to appoint another Rebbe after their Rebbe passed away. The Wroclaw were known as the dead Hasidim. And the old joke goes, how many Wroclawer Hasidim does it take to change a light bulb? And the answer is, Wroclawer Hasidim never changed light bulbs because they know they'll never get a new one as good as the old one, meaning that they never appointed another Wroclawer Rebbe. But the Rebbe Nachman said to his Hasidim, if you're not going to strive to be better tomorrow than you're doing today, what on earth do you need tomorrow for? And he was right. Your spiritual life is almost as important as your physical life. You can never stand still. You have always got to keep growing and developing. Throughout the year, I very often fell back on one of my favorite religious metaphors, that is the ladder. We are all on a sort of ladder of spirituality. When we become holier, we go up a few steps on the ladder. If we fall for some reason, we go down a few steps, but we never get off the ladder. But the problem with Jewish New Year's resolutions is that they, like secular New Year's resolutions, are easily made and even more easily broken. So I'm going to keep it simple. That's my favorite expression. I use it with my students all the time. KISS. Keep it simple and straightforward. The first one that I suggest to you is once a month, every month, observe a fast day. I don't mean a physical fast. I don't mean a fast in which you stop eating. It is a fast from gossip. One day of the month, say to yourself, I'm not going to gossip. I gossip too. It's a lot of fun. There's an entire multi-billion-dollar industry devoted to gossip. I read People magazine the other day. I had to. I was in my doctor's office. But that's what it's all about. That's why the Amidah, the standing silent prayer, the meditation prayer that we do 3 times, ends as follows. Elohai netzor lashoni meira v'usfatai midaber mirma. O Lord, keep my lips from speaking evil, keep my tongue from speaking guile. Now, if not gossiping were easy to do, the Torah would not have devoted 2 solid parshiot, 2 Torah readings to that particular sin. Tazria and Metzora. In the Talmud, the rabbis say how bad gossip really is. Every time someone spreads gossip, it affects three people: the teller, the listener, and the victim. I think many of us are familiar with the famous Norman Rockwell painting showing the gossip spreading their, I'll have to bring it in sometime. This would be a good time for a PowerPoint. But anyway, the story of the rabbi, the grocer, and the gossip. What happens is that one day, this fellow is leaning against the wall of the candy store. We had a lot of people like that in my old neighborhood. My parents called them air inspectors because they had no jobs, they had no source of steady income. All they did was stand all day and lean against the candy store wall and breathe in and breathe out. They were inspecting the air. And one day, one of these air inspectors sees in the grocery across the street, where you know they put the fruit outside. I don't think they do that in Florida. The fruit would just quietly shrivel up. This is more of a big city thing. The air inspector notices that the rabbi goes over to the greengrocer and they chat for a little bit. And then the greengrocer goes back into the store. The rabbi picks out two lovely, shiny apples, puts them in the pockets of his coat, and goes on his way. Well, the air inspector suddenly becomes a gossip. He begins to spread that the rabbi is stealing fruit. The gossip takes on a life of its own. Everyone has a good time spreading it, and pretty soon the rabbi sees, because it doesn't stop at the apples. All of a sudden, he's stealing an entire fruit truck. He's stealing gold bullion. Well, you never know about these rabbis. But the rabbi makes some queries, and he finds out who's been spreading this rumor. He calls the gossip to his study, and he says, "Young man, what are you trying to do to me? Are you trying to destroy my reputation?" And the gossip says, "But Rabbi, I saw with my own eyes, the greengrocer went back into the store and you took 2 apples. And the rabbi says, "Don't you understand? The grocer's daughter has trouble with Hebrew. So I was giving her some extra lessons on my own time." And the grocer said, "Rabbi, I'm not a wealthy man. If next time you come down to the store, help yourself to some fruit." So you see, what I was doing was perfectly legitimate. The gossip says, "Oh, Rabbi, how could I do this to you? How can I ever make it up to you?" And the rabbi goes, "Give me that pillow from the couch." And the gossip goes over and takes the pillow off the couch. The rabbi takes the pillow, takes his pocket knife, slashes the pillow open, and shakes out all the feathers. And then he says to the gossip, "You want to make it up to me? Go collect the feathers." Because you see, gossip is like that. It's very easily spread. Well, I asked a previous congregant one Shabbat if they could refrain from gossip for the whole day. And the next day I asked them if they had succeeded. And he said to me, "Rabbi, I made it out the door of the shul and halfway to my car, and then I had to tell my wife a really juicy piece of gossip." So it is very hard to refrain from gossip, as I say. The second New Year's resolution I'm suggesting is to do something with which we are all familiar. Give a little tzedakah every single day. Now, you may recall, you probably grew up with one of these in your home, the famous blue and white Jewish National Fund can. And first it was a metal can, then over the years it became a cardboard can. It was very difficult to keep up with these things, but that is exactly what I mean. The challenge, however, is that most of us pay with plastic. It's not unusual to have only a little tiny bit of change, but at the same time, we can manage. So we can put, I have my former education director in New Hampshire used to empty out his pockets and put the change in the pushka. So I'm suggesting that you do that because, as you recall, in the little chapel, if you've gone to our daily minyan, there is or used to be a brass can. There still is, thank you. A brass can with a slot in the top, and on it is clearly written Tzedakah tatzil mimovet, or as we used to say in the old neighborhood, tzedakah tatzil mimoves. Charity saves from death. And I'm not really sure how that works, but I think it's a beautiful sentiment to think that by putting a coin, even a penny, into a pushka, you can affect a cosmic change. If you can accept the second mitzvah of giving tzedakah and try to practice it, then you will be reminding yourself every single day that the money we have is not really ours. Our Christian neighbors have a wonderful concept called stewardship, meaning it's our job to supervise where the money goes, and in so doing, to make sure we do as many mitzvot as possible. Now we come to the last of the New Year's resolutions, the last mitzvah I'm going to suggest to you today. It's extremely obvious, which may get hard to remember, but it goes like this. Life is precious. Life is precarious. One of the major lessons of the COVID plague is that we should take advantage of every second, every millisecond of life. We have no idea what tomorrow will bring, or even if we'll have a tomorrow or not. And it is so appropriate to have this little conversation on Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur, of all the holidays, is the one that reminds us we are mortal and we must fill every second of our lives with meaning. When young couples come to see me in my office because they want me to do their wedding, and they're sitting opposite me on the comfy chairs, I'm always amazed that they don't hold hands. Why not hold hands as often as possible with the person with whom you are spending your life, life being as precious as it is? If you have a loved one, a husband, a wife, a child, hold that person's hand as often and for as long as you can. Here's a poem. I'm going to read a little bit of it. It's something of a sentimental poem, but it's nonetheless true. It's called If I Had Known. And I found the original was written by a woman named Mary Carolyn Davies. She was around in the late 19th century, and then she quietly vanished. She spent some time in Greenwich Village back in the 20s. That was a very stylish kind of place to be. They had hippies in the 20s too. If I had known we would not meet again after I left you there upon our bed, I would not have rushed off to go to work, but stayed a bit to watch you there instead. If I had known I'd never see you more, that hurried weekday morning off I ran, I would have grabbed just one more kiss or hug, but neither ever were there in my plan. I never knew that time would flit away. I never caught it in its winged flight. I never realized life's shortened day is followed by a vast and endless night. I thought, tomorrow's near at hand. I had tomorrow's plenty and in store. I never watched the speeding minute hand as days and years were racing evermore. It's all a lie. Tomorrow never comes. Make best use, therefore, only of today. To say I love you always overcomes whatever stresses life may bring your way. On this high holy day season, if there's someone you've wronged and you feel you can do it, ask their forgiveness. And we can't hug. Isn't that awful? Because of COVID, we can't hug. So do what I call the shadow hug. Kind of put your arms in their immediate vicinity and they'll get the idea. And one day, I promise you, B'ezrat Hashem, we will be able to hug each other once again. Thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom, good Shabbos. Well, it should be. Actually, it is. It actually is. Because, yes, Yom Kippur is Shabbat Shabbaton. It is the Sabbath of Sabbaths. Okay? So you're right, and I'm right, and the Chazan is right. There you go. Okay. Let's... Page 360, you've got the Baruch Hu.
We all rise, please.
Baruch et Adonai יבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Please be seated.
ומביניו ומבינים לה ומבדל בין יום ולילה אדוני צבאו קודש שמו אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני ברוך שמו יאיר אליי 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 יאיר אליי אליי הבנים הרבים. Last paragraph. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי אל חיינו ואורך ימינו ואורך ימינו ובהם אלך יומם יומם בלילה. ועבדך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני ברוך הוא ברוך שמו יאיר אליי 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 אוי ואבוי כי ישראל.
On page 362, we have the Shema. We cover the eyes. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam. And the English reading together. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall you take to heart. You shall diligently teach them to your children. You shall repeat them at home and away, morning and night. You shall bind them as a sign upon your hand. They shall be a reminder above your eyes. You shall inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. Reading silently to the middle of page 364. Adonai Elohechem Emet.
Page 366. ומלכותו ברצון קיבלו ליגר משה ובני ישראל לך ענו שירה ושמחה רבה ואמרו מי כמוך מללים אדוני, מי כמוך נדד בקודש, נורא גאילות אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוגע לבני משה, סרני אנו באמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פרעה את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, Yai la 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 la, Yai la 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 la, God Israel.
All right, the prayer at the bottom of 367 in the English. This is the prayer for healing. As we read it, think of the folks we need in need of healing. People all over the world, Afghanistan, the people who've gone through the hurricane, and well, you know, there's enough tsaros to go along. Let's read together. Help us, our Father, to lie down in peace and awaken us again to life again, our King. Spread over us your shelter of peace. Guide us with your good counsel. Save us for the sake of your mercy. Shield us from enemies and pestilence, from starvation, sword, and sorrow. Remove the evil forces that surround us. Shelter us in the shadow of your wings. You, O God, guard us and deliver us. You are gracious and merciful King. Guard our coming and our going. Grant us life and peace now and always. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Praise to you, Lord, who spreads a shelter of peace over us, over all his people Israel, over Jerusalem and the entire world. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, baruch atah Adonai, aporei sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim, v'al kol ha'olam kulo. Amen. 368.
Please rise. For on this day atonement shall be made for you to cleanse you of all your sins before the Lord shall you be cleansed. Ki bayom ma'aseh yechaper ha'alechem leta'er etchem mikol chatoteichem lifnei Adonai נתקדש שמן רבם מעלמד יברכנו וימליך מלכותם בחייכון וביומכון
ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, מעלה וזמן גריף, ואמרו אמן. יש מי רבן מבורך, לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר מדרוע מדרסה, ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה ברכו לילה ולילה מן כל ברכתה ושינתה תושבחתה ולחמתה נמי נמי ארמה ואמרה
The Amidah, the silent Amidah. Page 370 for the Amidah, and eventually we'll get to 382. Please be seated. All right, 386, we have the Ya'aleh. Please rise, the ark is open, 386. Oh, sure.
יעלה תחנוננו מערב ויבוא שבתנו מבוקר ויבוא שבתנו מבוקר וירערנו ננו וירערנו ננו וירערנו ננו עד הערב יעלה קולנו ויבוא צדקתנו מבוקר ויבוא צדקתנו מבוקר וירא פדיוננו וירא פדיוננו וירא פדיוננו עד הערב. Last two lines. יעלן דווקנו מערב ויבוא גילנו מבוקר ויבוא גילנו מבוקר וירא בקשתנו וירא בקשתנו וירא בקשתנו עד הערב יעלן כתרנו ויבוא אליך מבוקר ויבוא אליך מבוקר וירא אלינו וירא אלינו וירא אלינו עד הערב.
All right, continuing now. I think you may be seated. Close the ark, please.
We are now on page 388.
388.
There is a beautiful melody that Karl Bach composed for the two first lines that says that the soul is yours, the body is your creation, Lord, have compassion upon your handiwork. So, as always, Carlebach is easy to sing. So you're going to learn and to sing with me, isn't it? Malach ve'aguf ba'olach husa ala malach. Try to do humming with me.
This is 388.
Again. La da da, la da da, la da da, la da da, let's put the words. Anesham halach ve'aguf ba'olach chosa ala malach. Second part. Anesham halach ve'aguf shelach Adonai yaseh le'gemal shemecha Anesham halach ve'aguf shelach Adonai yaseh le'gemal shemecha.
Mm. 392. Please rise. This is the 13 attributes of God's mercy. Moses sang them as God passed by him in the shape of a whirlwind. Moses was eager to hide himself from the power of God, and so he crawled into the crevice of a stone, and he crouched there in this cold, hard womb while the Spirit of God passed by as a whirlwind.
Adonai, Adonai, el rachum v'chadon, el chapayim, merav chesed v'gemet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'afesha v'chata v'nakel. Adonai, Adonai, el rachum v'chanun, el chapayim, merav chesed v'gemet, notzer chesed la'alafim, nose avon v'afesha v'chata v'nakel.
ורב חסד ואמת, נושא חסד אלפים, נושא עוון ופשע וחטא ונקה. וסלחת לעווננו לחטאותינו ולנחלתנו, סלח לנו אבינו כי חטאנו, וחלנו מלכנו כי פשענו, כי אתה אדוני טוב וסלח ורב חסד לכל קוראיך.
Be seated. All right, on page 394, this is really one of my favorite piyutim. You should know that piyut is the Hebrew term for a poem. Poem, poetas, means maker. Piyut is the same root. And let's read together in the English. As clay in the hand of the potter, to be thickened or thinned as he wishes, are we in your hand. Preserve us with your love. La Brit.
First two stanzas and last two. כי הנה כך אומר, ביד היוצר, ברצותו מרחיב וברצותו מקצר. כן אנחנו בידך חסד נוצר. Everybody sing with me. La brita ben, ועל תפל היצר. La brita ben, ועל תפל היצר. כי הנה כאבן ביד המסתת, ברצותו חס וברצותו מחטט. כן אנחנו בידך מחיה וממוטט. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר. last two. כי הנה כיריעה ביד הרוקם, ברצותו מיישר וברצותו מעכב. כן אנחנו בידך אלקנו ונוקם. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר. כי הנה ככסף ביד הצורף, ברצותו משגשג וברצותו מצרף. כן אנחנו בידך מצילי מזור טרף. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר. לברית אבד ועל תפל היצר.
396. Okay. This is the bottom of the page where it says the covenant. Please rise. The ark is opened. Once again, the 13 attributes of God's mercy.
Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, Melech Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed Alofim, Noseh Aor Mafesha B'chatav V'Hakem. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, Melech Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed Alofim, Noseh Aor Mafesha B'chatav V'Hakem. Adonai, Adonai, El Rachum Vechanun, Erech Apayim, Melech Chesed Ve'emet, Notzer Chesed Alofim, Noseh Aor Mafesha B'chatav V'Hakem.
The ark is closed. You may be seated. This is 398, Shema Kolenu.
Shema Koleinu Adonai Eloheinu Chuz v'rachem Rachem Adeinu Chuz v'rachem Aleinu מקבל ברחמים וברצון את תפילתנו השיגמנו אדוני אליך שיבנו אדוני אליך ונשוב תשליכנו מלפניך ורוח קודשך אל תיקח ממנו אל תשליכנו לרד זגנה כי כוחנו אל תעזבנו אל תעזבנו אדוני אלוהינו אל תרחק ממנו. Do not abandon us, Lord our God. Do not be far from us, Show us a sign of grace in spite of your foes, for you are our help and our comfort. כי לך אדוני יוחלנו, אתה תענה, אדוני אלוהינו.
Page 400. All right, 400 towards the bottom. Please rise.
Eloheinu Eloi Avotenu, slach lanu mechal lanu kaber lanu ki anu amecha ve'ata Eloheinu anu barecha ve'ata avinu anu avadecha ve'ata adoneinu anu ke'alecha ve'ata chelkeinu anu nachalatecha ve'ata goraleinu anu tzorecha ve'ata roheinu anu karmecha ve'ata noteinu anu feulatecha ve'ata yotzeinu anu rayatecha ve'ata noddeinu anu segulatecha ve'ata kerovenu anu amecha ve'ata malkeinu anu mahamirecha ve'ata
Page 403 with breast beating.
שבנו, הגדנו, גזלנו, דיברנו, דופי, הבאנו, וירשנו, זלנו, חמסנו, טפלנו שקר, יין עליין, עין, יעצנו רב, כי זרבנו, לצנו, מדדנו, נייסנו, שררנו, אבינו, פשענו, צררנו, קישינו עורף, רשענו, שכבנו, תיאבנו, טעינו, תיתנו. איי, 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 איי,
206.
על חטא שחטאנו לפניך באימוץ הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בביטוי שפתיים, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בגלוי ובסתר, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בדיבור פה. על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בארור הלב, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבידוי פה, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בבדור ובשגגה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך בחילול השם, על חטא שחטאנו לפניך בטיפוש פה, ועל חטא שחטאנו לפניך ביודעים ולא יודעים, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו, ועל כולם אלוהי סליחו, סלח לנו מחלנו, סלח לנו מחלנו, כפר לנו.
I'm sorry, I can't let this go by. The tune that I've used is a little cheerier.
Okay.
And that is a remarkable talent of Jewish people to be able to sing about sin. V'al kulam Elohai selichot, selach lanu, mechalanu, kapelanu. Al chet shechatan lefanecha bechabat shochad, ve'al chet shechatan lefanecha b'lshon hara. Al chet shechatan lefanecha b'machal u'b'mishtem, ve'al chet shechatan lefanecha b'ntiat garon. And now we do the refrain, which is on page 408. It is transliterated on 409. V'al kulam Elohai selicho, selach lanu, mechal lanu, kapel lanu.
You know what's happened is that in South America, we repeat more times because we make more transgressions, but our transgressions are happier. So this is why our melody is more in major, so they are a little bit more.
You see, the Sephardic Jews have joie de vivre, and they take their time. The Ashkenazi Jews are in a big rush. So,
Especially because of the dinner of tonight.
can I say? All right. All right, 410, Hu Yanenu, he shall answer us. Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it a shot. Misheanu le'Avraham avinu b'har haMoriah, and the refrain is Hu Yanenu. Misheanu le'Yitzchak b'no k'shenekar al gav haMizbeach, Hu Yanenu. And God who answered Jacob in Bethel, Hu Yanenu. And he who answered Joseph in the prison house, Hu Yanenu. And God who answered our ancestors by the shores of the Sea of Reeds, Hu Yanenu. And God who answered Moses in Chorev, which is one of several names from Mount Sinai, Hu Yanenu. And God who answered Aaron by, he caused a branch to flower, to sprout leaves, I think. Hu Yanenu. And the very last line on the page, and God who answered all the righteous and the kindly, and the pure of heart, and the upright, Huyanenu. And I think we're Avinu Malkeinu.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are going, we are going to have both tunes,
Both.
just in case we don't.
Oh, that's fine.
We don't have to argue. We
Okay.
have one tune, and in the end, the other tune.
Okay.
No worries.
You have musicians behind you.
Yeah, they know. They know.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha Avinu Malkeinu Let's start again. The problem was that I forgot to take the mic to them, so I lose the page here. So we're gonna start from the beginning. Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Avinu Malkeinu Chatanu Lefanecha Avinu Malkeinu Chamol Aleinu Ve'alol Aleinu Ve'dahaperenu Avinu Malkeinu Chal Dever Ve'cherev Rav Me'alenu Avinu Malkeinu Chale Kol Tzar U'Mahastim Me'alevenu Avinu Malkeinu Avinu Malkeinu Kodreinu Besefer Chaim Tovim Avinu Malkeinu Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu Shana Tova Avinu Malkeinu Hadesh Aleinu Shana Tova Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu Shema Kolenu Shema Kolenu חרב ורעב ושבע מצית אבינו מלכנו, סלח ומחה לכל עוונותינו, אבינו מלכנו, אבינו מלכנו, עזרנו בתשובה שלמה. אבינו מלכנו, שלח רפואה שלמה. אבינו מלכנו, כתבנו בספר חיים. אבינו מלכנו.
Thank you. The last two, 5 lines on 415. Let's do them all together. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of happiness. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of deliverance. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of prosperity. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of merit. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of forgiveness. The last 2 lines.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chaneinu Aleinu, Yei banu Masih. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed ve'oshienu. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Yei banu Masih. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed. Asei manu, Zakah b'chesed ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu.
Please be seated. Full Kaddish, 419. Sorry. Okay.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבן, ועלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, וחייכנו ביומכו, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל מעלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן, ישמר רבן מבורך. לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשם בכל לילה לילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה למירה בעלמא תושבחתה ונחמתה למירה בעלמא ואמרו אמן תתקבל צלותו נאמרתו דכל ישראל קדם מבון דיבי גשמיה מבון דיבי גשמיה Maya, Imro Amen, Yesh Lama Rabba Mishemaya, V'chaim Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Imro Amen. Ose Shalom Imromav, Uyase Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael.
We'll write the Aleinu, which is 420. Please rise.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתן גדולה יוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו גויי ארצות, ולא שמנו במשפחות אדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כרת, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו רואים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא משמיים ויסד הארץ ומושב יגרו בשמיים ממעל, שכינתו סוף ולא במרומים, ובאלוהינו אלילות אמת מגנו אפס ולטוב, כתוב ותורתו, בירת היום וידעת היום השם אותם בלבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים השמיים ממעל ועל הארץ ועל הארץ יפתח עלינו עינות, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Mourner's Kaddish, page 422. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, אמן.
ועלמא תברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, מעלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונקמתה למירם בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Yes, no? Okay.
Just wishing you all a joyful year, a healthy year, a year of understanding, a year when we'll be together again. It's wonderful to see all of your faces. I love you dearly, and have an easy fast, and we'll see you at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Lashana Tova.
Want to thank our musicians for the evening, Ms. Dina Shapiro, Mr. Peter Braunfield, Mr. Marcelo Barsky, and the cantor.
All right. Okay.
Of course.
יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא בנט אל מציאותו, אחד ויחיד כייחודו, מלמד עמי סוף לאחדותו, אילון דמותגו ואינו גוב, לא נערוך אליו קדושתו. Bam 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 yam bam 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 yam bam 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 yam bam 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 קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא רצון וראשית וראשיתו הינו אדון עולם וכל נוצר יורה עולתו ומלכותו שפע נבואתו ביתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו יאי יאי לה 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 יאי לה 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 יאי לה 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 יאי לה 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 לא קם בישראל כמו שאול נביא ומעביד את אמונתו תורת אמונתו לאמואל על יד לביאו למען ביתו לא יכל לפאר ולא יאמין דתו לעולמים לזולתו יאי לה 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 לה
The closing benediction.
יברכך אדוני וישמרך,
May the Lord
יאיר
bless
אדוני
you and
פניו
keep
אליך
you.
ויחונך,
May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you.
יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום.
May the Lord turn his face unto you and grant you peace. We'll say Amen. Shabbat Shalom. Good Shabbos.
Shabbat
It's not Shabbos. It's Yontif. Gemar Tov. We say Gemar
גמר חתימה
Tov.
טובה, צום קל, easy fast. יאי נאי
Everyone should be sealed in the book of life.
יאי נאי נאי נאי